Welcome to the content talk for the Project Approach Curriculum Guide. In this content talk, you will understand the activities that are involved in planning and creating a curriculum guide. When we are creating authentic curriculum and emergent curriculum that's integrated, thinking about the standards, the teaching strategies, and the assessment practices that are developmentally appropriate for toddlers through third grade classrooms, curriculum guides are meaningful tools for not only recording the teaching and learning that has occurred, but also for planning out the potential teaching and learning activities. A curriculum map can be a great tool for sharing with administrators and families all of the learning that's potential in a project, and at the end of project work, serving as a record of all the standards and all of the activities that have been involved in developing rich, meaningful curriculum for young children. Now let's think back to the beginning of the semester when you first were introduced to thinking about integrated curriculum and the essentials for selecting developmentally appropriate practice curriculum topics. One of the key aspects of being a developmentally appropriate practitioner in birth through third grade classrooms is that we deeply understand the content areas, and we also deeply understand the curriculum or developmental domains and how children progress across those developmental domains in an individual yet typically developmental pattern. And so as we select curriculum, we want to keep in mind three overarching ideas: accurate, relevant, and meaningful topics. Those are topics that are age appropriate, that are grounded in children's everyday cultural context and their real world experiences, and that provide children the opportunity to meaningfully learn. And meaningful, we think about the curriculum and instructional practices as well as the assessment practices that are important for young children's development. So we have a list of ideas here and things that we should consider when we're creating project approach curriculum. Is there an abundant opportunity to learn standards? Can we authentically assess children, and will we see opportunities for not only dispositions for learning and dispositions for intellectual development, but the embedding of academic skills? Does this curriculum really satisfy a child who thirsts with this innate instinct for creativity and for conversation and for investigation and for making? Does this curriculum really respond to the children's interests and their needs? Is there a balance of teacher-child initiated activities? Remember, in project work, the teacher may instigate some things in the beginning when we're focusing and we're helping children focus on learning about the topic and providing some background experiences, but then we really want to turn it over to the children and learn how, as the teacher, to be the facilitator and guide as children test out their own ideas. Then when we create curriculum, there's also resources and materials that really reach across a broad range of ideas and skills, particularly for supporting diverse children. We think about the developmental characteristics of the learning domains, and so many more. So these are aspects of things that you've already done, and you implemented that through different types of activities and through different types of planning processes. One of those planning processes was creating a teacher anticipatory web. As you were beginning to think about curriculum, let's look at the continuum of curriculum organization. This is how we organize curriculum in school. Sometimes we teach single concept lessons determined by the teacher, focused on one concept, typically one standard. Oftentimes in courses or in your own teaching where you're teaching a particular subject area, like reading, you may choose one skill, such as beginning sounds, and then construct an instructional activity around that for children who you're noticing need that support. You've got integrated concepts. That's what you've been planning with your activity plans, where you take two different standards, two different content areas, and you integrate those skills together within an activity. Units are a shorter amount of time that is usually spent on a narrow topic. Thematic teaching, you may spend a little bit longer than units. This is where it becomes child-initiated or teacher-determined. These are those classic themes that I always try to steer you away from for project work so you don't slip back into teacher-directed planning, like apples and pumpkins and flowers and seasons. Those would be things that we would see throughout the year in schools. And at some point, we'll talk about the relevancy of those standard themes as well. Teacher director guided, and then of course project learning is on the right hand side of the continuum. So most of the time from the left hand side to the middle, teachers are doing those things almost all the time every day. You might have single concept lessons and integrated lessons. You might be teaching a math unit embedded within a theme that's happening in your classroom. There even may be some inquiry involved in any of those activities. But then project learning can also take place alongside all of those other daily activities. So now let's think about creating an integrated curriculum grid. So this is adjusted from what a traditional curriculum map is. A curriculum map is a teaching tool that really records or helps us plan our curriculum, specifically thinking about the concepts that are being taught, the standards that are associated with these concepts, and usually a traditional curriculum map may also include links to assessments, essential questions, and the resources that the teacher will use to teach the topic. In addition, I want you to think about your own curriculum map in project work really starts out as the teacher anticipatory planning web. Now we are just taking that brain-based format and we're flipping it into a linear format that your administrator will be able to read and understand quickly and effectively. So let's start with thinking about your teacher anticipatory web. I'm going to provide you two examples. This first example is Allison Burton's work. She was an undergraduate who was working with focused children in a pre-K classroom in an inclusive environment. She had children that really were needing to make sure that they had concrete materials that they could actively engage in. When she initially reviewed her child webs, she noticed that bicycles might be an interesting topic for her children. As we went through the possibilities, the bike project began. In this preliminary teacher anticipatory web, you can see there are concepts about the project topic. So we have bikes in the center, and then we have 5 different types of concepts, major concepts, in red. Then we have in green the first level details of the concepts. And then we have second level details about the concepts coming off of the green. In the middle you will see that Allison has listed several possible DRDP standards. Now, examine your own teacher anticipatory planning web. Just like Allison, you had concepts, at least 4 major concepts, around your topic. For example, Allison had places to ride your bikes, characteristics of bikes, purposes of bikes, accessories for bikes, and parts of bikes. What you do to create the integrated curriculum plan, the first step is you isolate 2 goals. Those are overarching goals about the concepts. What are the overarching concepts that you can teach about your topic? So for example, goal 1, bikes have different parts and actions. That comes from parts of a bike concept. So you just take that concept and you flip it around into a goal statement. Another one of the goals that Allison had that she included on her curriculum plan was Goal 2. There are different purposes for bikes. She could have also included bikes have many accessories to help people. She could have also included a fifth goal. There are many places to ride a bike safely. So this is how you will identify your goals. Now, what you'll do next is you will first want to list out all of the standards that you've already used because you've already done several plans. If you've planned more than 3 activity plans, let's say you did a project-based prop box, maybe you did some introductory conversations about the topic, doing a child web, you can include those as well. You can include as many as you want to on this document in terms of standards and learning activities, but the main thing is you must at least have 2 different standards for each of the main areas. The areas of the standards are language and literacy, math, science, social and emotional and/or social studies, so the HHS on the DRDP wouldn't be included there. Art, health, and nutrition are all included together, and then physical development. So then on the right-hand side of your curriculum map, this is where you will list the activities that you've already done in the appropriate spot for that standard. Yes, that means you will at least write an activity twice because you have integrated standards. So for example, you could easily have examining parts and how they move about a bike, which is in her science column. If they were discussing these parts of a bike, then that would also go in language and literacy. So this also gives you the opportunity to brainstorm all the possibilities that you would still want to do with teaching and learning around your topic. Note, you are not writing out long descriptions of activity plans. You are giving the overarching idea of what the activity would be using a phrase, labeling parts of a picture of a bike, measuring the length of handlebars, sketching a real bike, using wrenches to take off bike parts and put them back together, etc. Here's a second example. This has always been my example of our shoe project. So types of shoes, characteristics of shoes, uses of shoes, where we get shoes. Those are the overarching concepts related to the topic. I would choose 2 of those for my curriculum map. In theory, my total curriculum map would have a map for each concept. So if I took types of shoes, my goal could be there are many different types of shoes. For uses of shoes, I could say that there are purposes of shoes in order to help people. In order to complete the project curriculum map assignment, follow these 4 instructions. First, select 2 concepts related to the project topic from your teacher anticipatory map. For example, looking at the map I just showed you of my shoe project, I could decide on purposes of shoes, characteristics of shoes, where we buy shoes. Now you're going to use those concepts and write 2 goals by restating the concept. Shoes serve a variety of purposes. Shoes are made of different materials. We find shoes in many places. Next, place into the map your standards that you've already used in your activity plans and the matching activities. Add those in. Now, brainstorm additional activities that you could do to help facilitate children's investigations and learning about the project topic. You can brainstorm any possibilities. Don't forget to include things like time 1 and time 2 drawings, dramatic play, taking on roles, interviewing experts, going and taking surveys, going to field site visits and doing investigative work there, creating representations through lots of various construction and using different media, etc.